Nothing is gonna change until your identity changes. For as long as we continue to think about ourselves in a certain light, why wouldn't we continue to return to the habits that we are? When we make a change, and especially if we're going to talk health and fitness, for example, we're talking about it and it's like, oh, well, I'm going to start eating this way. And we've spoken about it many times before, that a lot of people are like, they can stick to the program because in their head, at some point, at some end date, they are just going to return to what they've always been doing. And I keep coming back to it, and I will forever keep coming back to it. And that is the definition of insanity. That you keep returning to this concept of who you used to be. And you go, well, I'll just change for a short period of time, and then I can go back to what I was doing and think that things will be different. Think that things will, somehow, now that you've invested 6 weeks, 12 weeks, 6 months, maybe even 12 months into this program, and then be like, oh, well, then I can just return to who I was. And you'll, maintain those results now that you're not doing the things that got you there? And the one I keep coming back to, and it's because I keep having to have discussions with certain people about it, is it's time to be a fucking adult about this. And realize that if you want to make a change, you cannot continue to be the person you were. Because the person you were got you to the spot you are. And if you aren't fucking happy with that, then change it. You can't go, I'm going to change for a short period of time, then again, revert back to the person that I was and expect something different to happen. It's truly, truly insanity to think that you can make a short-term change and then return to who you were and your life will turn out different. We need to keep coming back to this concept. Your reality is a direct reflection of the choices that you are making. So if you aren't happy with your reality, change the choices you make. And within 90 days or less, you could be a different fucking man. But you have to change the identity that is attached to you. You can't continue to be like, well, I eat junk food, I eat whatever I want, I eat whenever I want, I do whatever I want. That idea is A, fucking ridiculous, and B, is going to continue to end you up in a place that you don't want to be. We need to step up and be a fucking adult about it. Make adult decisions about things. And go, I'm going to choose what's best for my future. Not what's easy, not what's comfortable, not what I want right this second, right now, but what is going to deliver the outcomes that you want from your life. And that needs to be the question that needs to be asked. And your identity can be shifted one thing at a time. Look, I do think results will happen a hell of a lot faster if you dive all in, as one of my guys in my group has discovered. In the, loving way that he so put it. He's like, thank you for inviting me into this hell. And I hate you most days, but it's delivering the results that I wanted. 3.5 kilos in 3.5 days. Not bad bang for your buck, is it? But extreme changes are fantastic. And if you want extreme results, you need to make extreme changes. But my fear for this guy, and for most of the fitness industry, to be honest, is that if you're not shifting your identity, these things will be short-lived. As we keep coming back to, this is where yo-yo dieting comes from. Thankfully, I have enough time still left with this guy to continue to make changes to help him realize where he's at, to realize what changes need to be made long-term so that he can at bare minimum, maintain these incredible results that he is achieving right now. But if you think that you're going to stay the same, not change who you are, and become the healthiest, the fittest, the strongest, the greatest version of yourself, well, you're fucking delusional. Like, a couple of French fries short of a Happy Meal right there. You cannot continue doing what you've been doing and expect to get different results. It's just not going to work. So you have to make changes, not just in what we're doing, not just in the habits we're making, not just in the choices we're making, but in the thoughts that we think about ourselves. And the thoughts and how we define ourselves. I'm sure you've seen them around, and it's like those wristbands, and it says something like, what would Jesus do? Or what would, I've seen, what would Doctor Who do? Or anything along those lines. And I want you to have that same mindset, but I want you to think about it in terms of you. What would the healthiest, fittest, strongest, most disciplined, most committed, best version of me do in this situation? And the problem often arises that people think it's in the big, massive decisions that things change or fall apart. No, it's not. It's usually the straw that broke the camel's back. It's not that, it's like all things in life. It's not that one fight with your wife caused the marriage to end. It's the 10,000 unspoken things and little niggling things that built up over time that led to that fight that caused it. It's the same as you didn't just suddenly wake up one day 30 kilos overweight. No, you made constant and repetitive bad fucking choices in life that led you to that. And the reverse leads you back out the other side. You make constant little positive choices in your life. And especially when you are redefining your identity, you're redefining who you are, there is going to be a shit ton of them that you will have to consciously and continuously keep coming back to. And you will have to keep redefining yourself and recommitting to the work that you're doing. You must consistently do this work that you keep showing up. And it's in those little things of, am I going to work out today? Am I going to go do the exercise? Am I going to go for my walk? Am I going to drink that water? Am I going to choose to stick with the food I want? Am I going to put myself in a situation where my resolve and determination will be tested? Because early on, look, it seems boring and unrealistic, but early on, to be honest, I would probably try and avoid situations where your resolve will be tested, because there is a good fucking chance you will not win that. And that's honestly not even a knock on you. That's just a reality of the situation, that while you're still redefining who you are and you're building your identity around that, the chances are that if the situation arises, you are going to revert back to your default state. And as we discussed, that puts you into a situation that you don't fucking want to be. Those default states and those default choices have led you to a place that you don't like. So try to avoid setting yourself up into that situation. And it comes down to even the little things of how you structure your environment. So you get what's called decision fatigue. And if you have to make too many decisions across the day, you'll get to a point where basically you've run out. And look, I know of like CEOs and really high up people who take this to the extreme, like Steve Jobs and Zuckerberg and people like this, and Jack Dorsey are extreme examples of this. So they have all the same clothes, they eat the same food every single day, they have all this kind of stuff, so they don't ever have to make decisions. It's all been pre-done for them, and they just show up and they just make the things over and over and over again, so that they don't have to waste mental energy on things that do not matter. But the same applies to you. Set up your environment so that you have limited temptations. It's the old adage. If you're going to start on something new in terms of eating plan, and I don't want to call it a diet because we're making a choice for long term. This isn't a short term fix. This isn't a diet. This isn't crash course. You're just fucking eating healthy food to be a healthy human being. But that is a rant for another fucking day. But clear out all the junk food. Make sure there isn't any in the house. It makes it a much greater conscious decision to go and break on your healthy eating if it's not around. If it's just in the cupboard, man, the willpower that you have to instill in yourself not to partake in that is so much greater than if it just isn't there. If you have to go, man, I really want that tub of ice cream, or that beer, or that bag of chips, or whatever the fuck it is, that you have to actively go to the shops, purchase them, and come back home before you can have it, usually the amount of effort to get there will be so high that it'll prevent you from making that choice. So do things like that. Set yourself up like that. As I said, in probably the first 14 to 21 days, try to avoid situations where you will be forced to make a decision on who you are, because you are more likely to revert back into old habits. So don't put yourself in the situation where you're gonna have to make hard decisions. These kinds of things. The other one you can do is change your environment. So rearrange the house. If you have the capacity to do so, do so. Like the one I just did recently was with my office. I found that I was not getting the level of work that I felt was necessary for it. I had fallen into bad habits, and I was now associating, when I sat down at my desk, not with doing work, but with negative habits. And so when I started this phase, I wanted to break those habits. So one of the things was I rearranged my office. I moved my desk. I changed where my bookcases were. I set everything up. It is now a brand new environment. So when I sit down in that, I'm building and attaching new meaning to that situation. Those habits are built on old triggers. Because what you need to understand is so much of our life is subconscious triggering. It's not us in the pilot seat. It's just these patterns that we've established that will trigger them into it. It's why you need to reestablish new patterns. And a great way to do that is to change the setup and the environment of the places where you have negative habits forming. So if you have the capacity, change where the organization of your kitchen is. Change how you start your day so it's associated with different things. Change this setup so that it flows differently. And the other one, in terms of your identity and that kind of stuff, is block out time for this stuff that matters. And I see this one, I had this argument I was having this discussion with one of my guys today, and he's like, oh, I've had a really shitty day, and I'm tired, I just don't think I've got it in me to do my workout today. And I'm like, well, one, you've made a commitment, we need to do this. This is where the rubber meets the road. These are the situations that fucking matter. And I'm going to give you the hard truths. I'm going to hold you accountable to the standard that you set. You're going to go do that workout because you said to me, you said to yourself, you made a commitment to me, you made a commitment to yourself that this is what was going to happen. So you're going to go do it. I understand you're tired and that workout's probably going to suck, but this is where you need to get it done. This is where you made a commitment to yourself and you're breaking through to the other side of it. This is the moment when resistance will rear its ugly head. So override those feelings and go get it done. Thankfully, he heard me. He felt at where I was coming from, a place of love and holding him to that standard. I wasn't being a dick. I wasn't being a knob jockey. I was loving him to the highest form because I was telling him the shit that he didn't want to hear, that he didn't want to know, that still needed to be said because he needed to get that shit done. And so he did. So there's a win-win right there. But we also then had the discussion about blocking out time. And I was like, how are you structuring this at the moment? He's like, well, when I get time, I do my workout. And I'm like, so it's not a priority. And he's like, no, this is really important to me. And I was like, your words and your actions don't align. Your intentions and what you're doing do not align. You're telling me that this is really important, that this is the most important thing to you right now. Where the fuck is it on your calendar? Where have you allocated time to do it? And look, that might fluctuate from day to day because you have an up and down schedule. That's fine, but the night before you go, based on what I'm doing tomorrow, I'm going to work out at this time. Therefore, it's getting done. That's how you ensure it gets done. That's how you build it into your identity, because you've put it on the fucking calendar. It's clearly an important factor. You have allocated time, and you are not going to let it just happen when it happens or disappear if you don't get time. No, you have scheduled and blocked out time. Now you've indicated to yourself, to those around you, to everyone, that this is something that matters. I have allocated time. This is getting done. It is on my calendar. End of fucking story. If you fit it in when you get time, I can guarantee you that you will let your days fill up that time, and it'll just expand and will allow you to not do it. It will allow you to slip back into bad habits to avoid doing the work. It's the same concept as, if I give you a week to do a project, it'll take you a week to do. If I give you 3 hours to do a project, it'll take you 3 hours. You will allow the time to fill whatever allocation of time you've given. So if you go at 6 a.m. every single day, I fucking work out. I get up at 5:30 and I work out at 6 a.m. Boom. There's a commitment. There's a thing. And if you don't, it means you then have to make up the time, and you have to figure out what you're going to take time away from elsewhere to make sure that that gets done. If you're just fitting it in willy-nilly, you are saying A, that it doesn't matter, and B, that your time allocation to it doesn't matter. That's a problem. That means it will not work. That means it will not change, because you are not indicating to yourself, you are not indicating to the world that you are a man who fucking works out every single day. You are not taking yourself seriously. You are not taking the program seriously. You have not committed to it, because you're just going to do it when you have time. You know, that's what we do for video games and social media or things like that. TV, we allocate whatever time's left at the end of the day. No, we are making a commitment to this. We are blocking out time. We are making it part of our identity. And you need to start thinking about that way. I am a man of my word. I am a man who works out every single day. I'm a man who goes for a weighted walk every single day. I choose fuel based on fueling my body, not based on instant gratification. I choose to drink water to keep myself hydrated. I am a man who does these things. I am a fit, healthy, strong, and confident man because my actions meet my intentions. Shift your identity. Shift how you think about this. Shift how you communicate it to the world, because that also will indicate to you how serious you are about this. Because you can be all silent in the world and be like, no, I'm a man of my word. I'm really committed to doing this work. And then, you know, you look at your calendar and it's like, oh, well, I fucking do workouts haphazardly. I don't have a commitment. I don't actually show up every single day at a certain time to do the work. It's just when it happens. You are just someone who does exercise. You are not a fit, strong, healthy person. You are not a man who's committed to doing the work. And your actions scream that you are not a fit, healthy man who's committed to doing the work. So you need to start making sure that your actions and your match your intentions, that what you're putting out there matches what you say you are. Because if you don't change your identity, if you still identify as the same man that you were at the beginning, at some point, I can guarantee at some fucking point it will all wear off and it will all slip back and you will return to who you were. And then what? What was the point of it all? I know it can be scary. I know it seems like a daunting task to go into something like this going, I am going to change my identity. But you have to go in with that concept, because otherwise, what's the point? Otherwise, we're just going to be back here again in 6 months, 12 months, whenever it is, because you went back to who you used to be and you just let it fucking slide. So you just ended up back in the same place of where you used to be. So it's time to make a change for good. It's time to make a definitive plan to become a better version of yourself, to actually decide who you're going to be and what you're going to commit to, so that you can be the greatest version of yourself. It's time to stop letting it happen willy-nilly and just let the world come to you. No, you decide who you're going to be, and you decide what actions you're going to take, and who you're going to be, and how you're going to show up in this world. It's in your power. It's in your capacity. All you have to do is make the fucking decision. So if you are ready, if you're finally ready to put all of that aside and step into your power and become the greatest version of yourself, become the strongest, fittest, healthiest version of yourself, shoot me a message. Let's get you into Chasing Greatness Daily, or click the link in my bio to just jump straight in. And let's make it a reality. If you're not quite there yet, click the other link in my bio, grab my top 10 tools to transform your mental toughness. And lastly, if this spoke to you, if you enjoyed it, if you know that you need to keep hearing this message until you're ready to change, please hit the subscribe button, because it matters. I'm here every single day, sharing from the front, sharing from my experience, sharing from the experience of my guys on how to change your life. And not just for the short term, but for the long term. So if you need to continue hearing this message, which you do, if you've watched this long, you do, hit that subscribe button, help me, help yourself, help the algorithm know that you're loving this and it's making an impact on your life. Because I'll be back again tomorrow. Until then.